All right, everybody, this is the Nine Finger Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Dan Johnson, and it's not very often we have, I guess you would say, a musician or an artist on the podcast, but today we do. Mr. Rafe Carlson. Rafe, how we doing,
Yo,
man?
good, man. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Doing good. And we're recording this on Memorial Day, so if you hear my kids arguing or basketballs or baseballs being thrown against the side of the house and me potentially having to stop the podcast and go chew some ass, then then that's a possibility. So
Sounds like you
just
got
a
good
heads up.
kids, man. At least they're not inside playing video games or something. They're out having
Exactly. By force.
Yeah.
They're outside by force today. So, well, Rafe, tell me a little bit about yourself. High level, real quick. Where are you from? What do you do for a living?
Yeah, man. I'm from Hermantown, Minnesota, just northwest of Duluth, which is the far northern part of the state.
Right.
And I grew up hunting and fishing out in kind of middle of nowhere. You get north of Duluth and up toward like the Boundary Waters and stuff, and it's God's country, just totally uninhabited. So
Yeah.
just grew up, like in the wilderness, untouched forests
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I graduated high school in Hermantown and kind of did a little bit of college, started selling motorhomes and RVs and campers for a little while. And then I left
Yeah.
that job at about 22 years old, 21, 22, with no plan other than I want to play music and I want to sing, and I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure out how to make it work. So I just kind of threw my hat over the fence, so to speak, and played my first show 2 weeks after I quit my job. Flew to Nashville about a week after that. Started recording music, started writing songs with some buddies down there, and then moved down there eventually. Started playing bigger shows, festivals, touring regionally, then somewhat, semi-nationally, and then we've just been doing it, growing steadily, kind of ever since 2021, 2022.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, sounds awesome. So how do you come from, like, a musical family? Did
Yeah.
you come from, like, mom in the church choir or something like that?
Yeah, well, my mom actually was in country bands in the 80s. So I'll always bring up like, Def Leppard or stuff like that.
Yep.
I missed the 80s. I was playing country music. So she doesn't even know, like, she wasn't even listening to the rock and roll and the stuff in the 80s because she was singing like, Merle Haggard and stuff. And
Yeah.
so she was in a bunch of different, local bands around Duluth and northern Minnesota. And my dad doesn't have a musical bone in his body, but he's also from a super musical family. A lot of my aunts sing, a lot of my cousins sing. I grew up watching my cousins play guitar in rock and roll bands, and that was kind of what got me to buy an electric guitar. And so, yeah, it's funny because both sides of my family are musical, but in very, very different ways.
So it's in the blood, at least.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Now, coming from a musical family, how old were you when you started, like, playing guitar or writing music or singing? I mean, were you in bands in high school and middle school?
Yeah, I never even sang. I remember like the first time I sang in front of my friends, I was probably like 18 years old, and I was still like super scared. It's like one of those
Yeah.
things, like singing for 3 people in a living room can be more nerve wracking than 10,000 people on a festival stage or something. But I didn't even, like, most of my friends didn't even know I sang or played an instrument, play guitar until the end of high school or after graduating. And so it was kind of like, how long have you been doing this? I kind of just kept it secret. I played basketball, I played football up until beginning of high school, and I was in choir a little bit, but all my buddies played sports, and I didn't want to be like the choir guy, so I kind of just didn't really prioritize music a lot in school, and I didn't start actually taking it seriously until after I quit my job years later. Which is still super crazy to think about. But yeah, most people didn't even know I sang or anything until I was 18, 19 years old.
Okay. So if you ask my mom, she will tell you that I have a beautiful voice, but that's because she's my mom. Now, I don't think you could find another person that would agree with her. But like, how old were you when you found out like maybe you have enough talent to potentially do something with it?
Dude, I mean, that's the question because like people will tell you what they think you want to hear a lot of times, especially
Right.
your mom. Like my mom, I grew up singing in the car seat to Bon Jovi and Rascal Flats and on road trips and stuff. She was like, "You can sing." So I'm like 7 years old. And, um, and then when I started singing for my friends, they're like, "Oh man, you can really sing. Like this is incredible." And it's like,
Hmm.
are you just saying that because you're my buddy or so you
Yeah.
never really know until you start singing for strangers, and you don't start singing for strangers until you have a show or like you're playing some sort of out in
Right.
public thing. So
Right.
I mean, I still don't really know. You never really know if people are just telling you what you want to
Yeah.
hear or if they're genuinely, I mean, like we've gotten to a point now where I feel like at least some people think but yeah, as a band, we're decent. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I feel like I just try to do my best, try not to blow my voice out. I just can't. Literally, last night was a night 6 or 7 in a row of just like being on the road playing shows like 2 3 hours a night. So that's why my voice is kind of scratchy today. But we're just trying to keep my voice intact for the summer tour. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
So,
That's a good question. It's hard to
but
tell.
that's the thing, right? Like, I heard the word Nashville in there because was that like a leap of faith? Like a lot of
Yeah,
people, because I mean, me and my wife, we like to go to Nashville, and every Uber driver, every bartender, every person I've ever ran into and have had conversations there are going there to try to make it big, right? To
yeah,
try. And so but it was a leap of faith. Is that something that you did when you went to Nashville?
yeah, dude. And that's the craziest part of my whole journey since quitting my job. 5 years ago now. It's not been, the recent stuff and the social media stuff and playing these huge stages and going on tour with these big acts like that.
Mm,
That has been more just a result of time and hard work and having the right people in our corner. But the
yeah.
beginning of it was the craziest part because I had zero connections, like
Yeah.
nothing going on. I'd only played 2 or 3 shows, and I wound up getting hooked up with my good buddy Jeff Huskins, who was he's still a producer. He was a fiddle player in Little Texas. He was a fiddle player for Clint Black all through the '90s, and
Hmm.
he's founded and sold record labels and written hit songs. He's been a part of the music industry since he was. I think he moved to Nashville when he was like 17 or 18,
Yeah.
and so he was in my corner from day one. That was probably my luckiest break was meeting him, and so I went to Nashville with a plan as opposed to just
Yeah.
kind of showing up in town. And I didn't have to cut my teeth in Nashville. I did it up in the Midwest. I didn't have to go get a job as a busboy and play gigs on Broadway. I know I have a lot of friends that do that and they work their asses off all, and it's just like I'm fortunate to have been able to do that up in my neck of the woods, up in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think part of that at the beginning was just coming to town with a plan and having such a well-connected dude. He picked me up from the airport, showed me around, slept in his guest bedroom. So we're
Yeah.
still really good buddies to this day. He just produced the last single I put out. But yeah, man, those first like couple like leaps of faith, like you said, um, that's when it's most important to have someone in your corner like that, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to playing music, a lot of people do it for free. And then it sounds like what was that first, like, hey, dude, I'll pay you to sing moment for,
That's actually
for
so
you?
the funny thing with that is that started when I lied when I said my first show was after I quit my job. My first actual show was after I quit my job, but like the day I gave my 2 weeks notice, I drove up to Two Harbors. I don't know if you know where that is. It's up the
Mm-mm.
north shore of Lake Superior, probably 45 minutes outside of Duluth, 30, 40 minutes. Because I knew I wouldn't run into anyone I knew. I didn't want to
Yeah.
get embarrassed. And I just went and stood on the pier that goes out into the Lake Superior where all the tourists kind of walk by. And I stood there with my guitar and played for 45 minutes probably and put
Yeah.
like a whey protein jug that I just finished out and I wrote tips on the side of it. And I played for like 45 minutes and I think I made like $50 in tips. And that
Yeah.
was when I gave my 2 week notice. I was like, okay, I can make money like playing music somehow. So I'll figure it out
Yeah.
from here. And then, yeah, my first show, they paid me like $100, I think. And, you gotta do stuff like that when you're starting out. You got no name, no reputation. You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. Like if you ask me, like, so when I started podcasting, right, I was in a weird spot because I took my leap of faith when I already had kids, right? I couldn't just like
Yeah.
quit my job and live in a van
Yeah. And then
because I
there's a
had,
lot more on the line.
yeah, exactly. But but what about you? Like, were you just willing to live in a dumpster for however long it took?
Oh,
Or like, did you
dude,
have a plan at all, or were you just shooting from the hip?
just shooting from the hip, man.
Yeah.
I worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day sometimes selling
Mhm.
RVs. So I was able to put away a little bit of money by the time I
Yep.
was 21, 22. Didn't have a whole lot of expenses as a young guy, just, eating, eating frozen pizzas and stuff. And,
Yeah.
so I had a small, uh, nest egg kind of, and I was like, I can at least live off this for a few months while I figure things out. But yeah, it was a short window and I knew it would be tricky, but it was coming right into summer season. And I was like, okay, well, it's May 1st. I'm quitting my job. I know that the money I have will last me X amount of time, but we're getting right into summer. And it was by probably June, I had shows, 2, 3 nights a week. And I was like, okay, we're going to be fine. But it is a
Yeah.
scary thing, especially like you said, if you got a wife and kids or a family, you got commitments, you got bills to pay. And I was just fortunate enough to be in a situation where I was young. Um, I'd worked hard, put a little bit of money away,
Yeah.
and the cards kind of lined up. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. So, uh, but now I went to your website, right? And I'm looking at all your tour dates, and you're just stacked all the way up until September. That's the last thing that I see. There's probably more. But what I'm getting at is, when did it become, I'm just going to play music, and if I get paid $100, I'll take it, to like being on stage at these giant venues and concerts and things like that? And was there a moment where you're like, oh shit, it went from me quitting my job just to go chase my love of music to, I might actually make some money off of this and
yeah,
have this be my life?
dude. And the funniest thing, and this is what I didn't realize from the outside looking in before I started doing music for a living, and I think a lot of people don't, is like the ups and downs. Like I came from sales, so ups and downs. I was used to, extreme highs. You got months where you sell a bunch of motorhomes and months where you
Yep.
sell nothing. So I was used to that, but the extreme highs and lows are even worse in the music industry because yourself is attached to it. It's like this is
Right.
you and your brand. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've been on, the stage in front of 5,000 people, and then 2 nights later in a bar playing to the bartender and one couple in the back. So it's like it's not some steady thing where it's like, okay, then
Yeah.
you play this show and then you play a bigger show and then you get a record deal and then it's this thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's you doing this and this, ups and downs constantly. But there have been a handful of moments where I'm like, okay, it's like times where it's like, okay, the floor has raised. There's no going back to here. It's
Right.
like the bottom has gone up, and it's like
Yeah.
I think our first big show was opening. We opened for Jake Owen and Tyler Rich at Country Jam up in at Bayfront Festival Park in Duluth, and that was probably our first decent sized gig. We made a whole bunch of merch. We had a bunch of friends and family. They're all wearing our t-shirts, and it was just my cousin and I at the time. I didn't even have a band, and I was like, okay. At that moment, I thought I was like, okay, I'm never playing bar shows again. It's this and bigger from here on out. And I was
Yeah.
totally wrong. It's just like
Yeah.
constant ups and downs. But the problem with that, like you said, playing a gig for $100 versus doing the real big stuff, you kind of have to, like, if you love playing music like I do, you have to surround yourself with a team that's going to be the person to say, no, we're not taking this gig. Because I'll just say yes to everything. I'm just like, man, I love to
Yeah.
play. So you have to have
Yeah.
someone that drives the hard bargain and says, here's our value, here's the fan base we've built, here's the brand. People are going to come to this show. No, we're not taking this, you know. And
Yeah.
I can't be the one to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense because, like whoever the big, like Jelly Roll isn't going to go play a bar for the bartender and a couple in the back for $100
Right.
anymore. Right. It's not the value of the event. It's the value of the artist.
And
Right.
he's
And
the
so
kind of guy he probably would, but his tour manager will
exactly.
not let it fly, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's cool. And now it sounds like you're rolling.
Yeah, man, this summer is for sure like by far our biggest summer. We kind of do the summertime tour thing where I'm in
Yeah.
Nashville in the wintertime, get back here about May, um, and then we go through the end of September. And
Yeah.
man, this year is like every weekend we're either out with direct support for national acts, or we're headlining like small town fairs and festivals, or we're on the
Yeah.
bills for these huge festivals like Hoofbeat and Windstock and Lakes Jam. And it's like two or three, sometimes four of these a week where we're just on the road. I'm going to pick up a actual band van potentially tomorrow. So it's everything's happening really fast, especially with this album coming out too and all this stuff. It's like trying to trying to surround myself with people at the same time that can kind of take on some of these
Yeah.
responsibilities as we get into it. Because once you get on the road, it's just like you're just going. Like
Yeah.
I'll have like a week where I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't text this person back, and we were supposed to do something yesterday, and I totally forgot about it. Because like
Yeah.
without someone to kind of manage your whole thing, it's tricky to be on the road like that.
Yeah. That's a fact. All right. When you started out, I don't know, did you do what most people do and they play cover songs, or did you go right into your own stuff?
Dude, I am a huge fan of cover songs. That's all I did. I didn't even want to like when I started writing. I didn't even want to write. I was like, can I just sing Bob Seger and Chris Stapleton all night? And I don't even like. What am I gonna? I'm not a
Yeah.
songwriter. I've never written songs. And then it's just one of those things where you do it, and then you get hooked, and then you start. You have your first like banger where you're like, I can't even believe I wrote that song.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of when it clicks. You get a couple of those under your belt, and then you get hooked. So.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we still play covers even with the band. Like we'll throw in a few covers in the set, but I
Yeah.
still like to mix it up as much as I can, do originals and covers. But what we
Yeah.
found is like starting out, you're trying to play originals that you wrote, and people are like, play 5 o'clock somewhere, or play,
Yeah.
play Friends in Low Places. And it's finally getting to the point where it's like we're in the middle of playing like some Luke Combs song, and somebody comes up and like, play Northbound. Like they're requesting our
Yeah.
songs, which is cool. It's kind
Yeah.
of turned a little bit this last year, so that's been
Yeah.
fun to see.
And it seems like you've kind of fallen into somewhat of a niche, right? Like that northern Midwest, UP, northern Minnesota. I mean, that's the vibe that you are trying to create. Like, it's not pure country what you're doing. It seems like there's a lot of rock and roll influence in it.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to even call a lot of the stuff that I mean, especially if you come out to a show. It's like we're putting on a
Yeah.
rock show, and
Yeah.
with and calling it country a lot of times, but it's uh, it's kind of walking a fine line because if you go too far into the rock world, like we're not trying to sound like the stuff that's on rock radio, but
Right.
I remember the exact moment. Like I was sitting in Nashville and I just finished writing a song. I can't remember who with. Um, but I was like, man, like this is a great song. I love the song. I love the hook. I love all these things about it. I would never sing it. It has nothing to do with my life. It doesn't sound
Oh,
like who I am as an artist.
yeah.
Um, you don't know who you are when you just fly to Nashville, start writing songs. It's like, okay, well, what am I
Yeah.
supposed to do? Try to sound like the stuff that's on the radio? Well, the stuff that's on the radio
Yeah.
sounds like you grew up in Kentucky, and I didn't. I grew up in northern
Yeah.
Minnesota. So I grew up
Yeah.
listening to, Bob Seger, Skinner, Allman Brothers, ZZ Top, but I also grew
Yeah.
up listening to like Eric Church, Stapleton when I was a teenager and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So we're just trying to make like the most honest sounding thing we can. And it's
Yeah.
like the ironic thing is that it sounds like Southern rock, but it's from the North. But that's just
Yeah.
like, when it's negative 20 degrees all the time, it's hard to, kick back and and listen to Friends in Low Places. It's like people are tough and rough around the edges, and you get a tougher sounding music, and it
Right.
doesn't feel like something we have to force. That's just the kind of music that I've grown up listening to and enjoying, and it feels most
Yeah.
natural to make.
Yeah. I mean, you like what you like, right? And
Yeah,
it is what it is. I think the fastest way to turn people off is to go fake and be fake
totally.
about who you are. I mean, that could be with any profession. Or like if I came out here every day and was talking about, giant killing giant deer every single day, people would find that out real quick that I don't kill giant deer every single year. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but which kind of leads me to my next question is like, how much is the outdoors and you being from the North Woods that is heavily influenced by hunting and fishing infused into your music?
Yeah, that's a good question because if you had asked me that, you know, 2 or 3 years ago, would have been a very different answer because I was just trying to chase that Nashville thing. I was trying to chase that
Mm-hmm.
radio thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which we're still. I mean, we got songs on rotation right now, in northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin on radio stations just because this album's coming out, which
Yep.
I'm super thankful for. But again, it's like it sounds like how we all grew up, like me and my band, which is, the title of the album is Out of the Woods. Every song on it, half of them, I came up and sitting in my deer stand. I came up with a cool line that I thought, and I wrote it down in my notes or something, or, out fishing. It's just like inspired by moments like that, like
Yep.
real authentic things, as opposed to like three guys sitting in a room, like, all right, what do we write about today? Like that's how songs
Yeah.
come together, but that's not where I find my like inspiration. Like a lot of the songs on this album, like I came up with the idea well out in the woods, or like, you know, sitting on a boat fishing, watching the sunset, or sitting on my deer stand and wrote it down. And I'm like, you know what? Like, here's a buddy of mine that I think would think this is cool. And then you go sit down with someone and you finish the song.
Yeah.
But a
Yeah.
few on this album I wrote just on my own too, which is kind of unheard of in Nashville. Um, but yeah, dude, all the songs, Dirt Road to Heaven, um, Out of the Woods, Down the Road, Up to No Damn Good. Like it's all about, getting off the grid, growing up in the woods, being out in the middle of God's country, and a lot of just like, you know, can't tell me nothing, don't tell me what to do. I'm out on my own and I like it type of thing. So that's kind of the general vibe of the album. And I think, like I said, if you would ask me that question 2 years ago, it would have been different. And that's kind of just the lane that we've locked into moving forward
Yeah.
here, at least with this
Is this your
project.
is this your first album you're putting out?
First album, yep, debut album,
Okay. Okay.
which is exciting. And it's not like I've got all these songs I've written that sound like that I'm super proud of and I really want to put out at some point. But I was like, also got these songs that are way more rock and roll, sound like where I grew up, and it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a cohesive thing. And I'm like, I can see where things are going. Like we're starting to talk with labels and this and that. And I'm like, I might not have a chance to put out this again. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to put it out, leading into the summer tour. People are going to
Yeah.
love it. Some people are not going to love it. Um, but I think like now is the time, especially to just establish that brand and that sound. I think that no, there's not a whole lot of other people doing.
Yeah. I've had some pretty good conversations with some people in uh out of Nashville. Have you ever heard of a guy named Hawkenhorse?
No, no, I don't think so.
Okay, well, he tried to live like that. He's a writer and artist out of Nashville, but he's got a niche too. And his niche is like, I don't even know how to describe it, like old time trapper slash, um, like settlers music
Oh
from
man,
the 1800s. And so he went in for a while and he didn't really, I mean, he had success, but on an individual standpoint, he found like a niche of doing that type of music and it just took off for him. And he's like, I didn't know there were that many people like me out there who enjoyed this type of theme and this type of music. And it helps. I mean, it is what it is. And he's found it. When
that's
you
not. I gotta
were
look him up. What was his name?
Hawk and Horse,
That sounds cool, man. And that's how you build
Hawking
like
horse.
super fans is like people
Exactly.
you're not trying to be like the McDonald's or like the Walmart
Yeah.
or just trying d- to like have everyone kind of not hate it. You wind up with people that hate it and don't
Yeah.
understand it, and then you wind up with people they're like, this speaks exactly to me. And those are the people
Exactly.
that will come to the show and buy the T-shirt, be your best friend.
Yeah. I have a friend who I do another podcast with, and his stepdaughter is also living in Nashville and is also in the process of touring and things like that. And she's just starting out. She does a lot of her own writing and stuff like that. But that kind of a, like, how, when you start like a record deal and you, or not even a record deal, or when you start to have like conversations with record labels, or you, because you mentioned like, I don't know when I would ever put this out moving forward, so I'm going to put it out now. Like,
Yeah.
when you start having these conversations, does the quote unquote industry say to you, here's the type of music we think you should play?
A lot of times, but it's changed so
Yep.
much. I mean, I feel like in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, it was just like everything was that way. It was like, okay, well, you get roped into this deal, sign your name on the dotted line, and then
Mhm.
you're making music that sounds like they play at a JC Penney's while you're shopping. It's like that's kind of the
Yep.
pipeline. But there's so many different like small indie labels popping up now, or like imprint labels under the big labels that have like a team that is dedicated to you and they care about your sound and they're like, this is cool. Here's how we
Yeah.
can market this. Here's how we can make it a thing. And they actually
Hmm.
take the time to develop you into like, there's artists like I don't know if you've listened to Steven Wilson Jr. First thing that comes to mind for me, but he's like they're playing his stuff on the radio. He is so his own thing. It's just like you have to have the right team and really like the right person to go to bat for
Yeah.
you in town to be like, hey, this is cool. Listen to this. This is cool. Listen to this. Let's not try to change it too much.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think the industry is evolving in that sense in a good way to where you're getting these more niche things. With the internet, you can find
Hmm.
anything you want. So I think they're kind of finally
Right.
adapting to that and being like, okay, well, we can find an audience for this. It might not be like mega, mega, mega mainstream, but
Yeah.
it's proof of concept in this thing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so on your album cover, I think it's your album cover, you have like a 1980s snowmobile.
Yeah,
Uh,
liquefier.
uh, yeah, so my uncle used to be a big time wrencher for, like, he used to wrench on snowmobiles back in his early days, and I can remember he would modify them, and dude, we would go so fast. I don't even know how fast we were going. I can remember one time I had a snowmobile suit on when I was a kid. I was holding on to him, and the wind from how fast we were going caught my hood and pulled me right off of the snowmobile in this field. Luckily, there was snow, and I kind of just glided off the back of it. But do you have any songs about like snowmobiling?
No, I would love to do like I don't. That's a great idea. I'm
Yeah,
taking a mental note, but yeah, dude, that sounds like a blast. You just
yeah.
soup one of them things up and you can go real. This it gets dangerous, dude. I mean, it's like
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
yeah,
It probably was not any type of legal. What he had put together, but
probably not.
um, what about, like, you talk a little bit about the, like sitting in a tree stand. What is it about sitting in a tree stand and or being on the boat out on a lake that gives you that inspiration?
Dude, a huge part of it is just the places that we go to do that kind of stuff has no
Mhm.
cell service. So
Right.
I'm like, obviously, I've been doing music for full time for over 5 years now. So I'm just like always like my business is on my phone. So like all my
Yep.
friends get mad at me. They're like, oh, I'm like standing like everyone's trying to hang out, and I'm like taking phone calls and texting people and doing all this stuff.
Yep.
Which I think Ed Sheeran or someone he was like he's like, yeah, I just have a flip phone, but my
Yep.
manager tells me where I need to be. So that's the goal someday.
Yep.
But when you build it from the ground up, you got to always just be on the clock. And I think
Right.
something about being out in the woods where it's like, oh, I need to call this person back, or I need to send this email.
Mhm.
And it's like you up on your phone and you got the SOS symbol in the top, and it's like, oh, I can't. Well, sun's shining. and then just kind of like forces you into the present, which I, before doing the music thing, I was fine with that being out in the
Yeah.
woods all the time. But now it's just like I get so little of that being so locked into running this music business that
Yeah.
I just really appreciate those moments. I forced myself to like, just stay at the deer camp for like a week with no
Yeah.
service and just sit in the stand and zero distractions. And that's when like the best ideas come. We're out on the lake. We got a fishing shack way up north, near the Boundary Waters that my dad, my uncles, you literally have to cross rail. I wrote a song about it called Dirt Road to Heaven, but you got to cross, you got to tow a boat, a little fishing boat, and a side by side or a four wheeler, six wheeler or something, and you drive across this like undone, like unmaintained rocky road to get to the side of it, hook the boat up to the wheeler, take that where you can't drive the truck anymore, cross these railroad tracks, wind up at a landing on a lake, unhook the boat, take the boat all the way across the lake to the cabin. And I think when they built it, it was the only cabin on the lake. Now there's like two other ones, but there's no service. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so that's one of those things. It's just like remembering why you do it. Um, and sometimes you have to just be out off the internet and out of like cell service to
Yeah.
get that kind of
Yeah.
inspiration.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what, man. I'm kind of in the same as a business owner myself. There's times where I really enjoy going to my river bottom ground here in Iowa because there's no cell service, and it's almost like you're on your phone so much and you're connected so much that when the time comes where you can't even connect, you don't even know what to do, and
Yeah.
it takes like 30 minutes or something for you to just shift into nature.
Yeah.
It's like, why am I in this tree stand? I don't even know why. Okay, I'm deer hunting. I can't scroll anymore. I can't text or send emails. I got to just pocket it, and then it's almost like this giant stress ball leaves your body.
Yeah. But it's scary though, if you think about it. Like that it
Yeah,
takes that long to reset. Like I don't
yeah,
feel like I was that way when I was 12. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we
exactly.
turn into these cyborgs where we're just always like
Yeah,
everything's happening here and not like in your
yeah,
body and in the world and like actually you're not really alive. You're just like intaking information and exporting information on your computer phone
yeah,
all the time. Like, I don't know if
yeah.
that like personally I don't really want to live that way, but
No,
I don't teach their
no.
own. But
All right. I've had conversations with NFL players before, or college football players, or athletes, let's say, who their sport is in the fall, where they have to train in the fall, and they don't get a duck hunt or deer hunt or fish as much because they've made the decision like I'd love to go hunting, but I have a game this, how since you've gotten to the point where you're kind of full-time musician, do you always make time for deer camp or the hunting seasons, or do you have to put priority first and skip on those sometimes?
I've been able to make time. That's kind of like the one non-negotiable thing in my family. We hunt with like all my uncles and my cousins and a couple family. We got like 14 guys, so we all
Yeah,
stay in a shack with just a bunch of bunks in the middle of nowhere. And that's like the one non-negotiable thing is like you don't miss deer camp. So I've been able to
yeah,
kind of just out of necessity, I'm scared of
yeah.
getting chewed out if I miss it. But my dad, I was born on Halloween, so my like
Okay.
deer opener in Minnesota is the first Saturday after the first Thursday, and I think that year, which was 1998, I think it was like November 2nd or something. So like he came to the hospital. He's like, okay, my baby's alive. See you later. And I think he shot a buck that year too. But that's just how important it is to us. And I feel like it's one of those things like the importance of just having a family tradition.
Oh yeah,
Even like, yeah, I love shooting bucks. Um, but even just the tradition of it and it's something that I think it's so important to hang on to and pass down to your kids. I feel like we're losing that a little bit in a lot of ways.
that's a
But
fact.
um, But yeah, I think it's important to have something. So I've always made time. One thing is I always miss fishing trips. Like I always miss stuff in the summer because we're just going nonstop. So if we're
Yeah.
last summer was the first time I didn't make it up to our fishing shack since I was born. I was up
Yeah.
there in a little baby holder thing when I was like a year old, less than a
Yeah.
year old. Um, so I miss a lot of stuff in the summer. I mean, it sucks. I miss friends' weddings. I miss family weddings. I miss engagement parties. Everything that people schedule on a weekend, I'm not there, which
Yeah.
which really sucks. But no, I don't miss deer hunting ever.
Yeah. And that's I love that non-negotiable point of view. Okay, so as you let me ask you this question. Share with us, it's not a question, a comment. Share with us one of your favorite hunting stories or memories from your past.
Yeah, man. Shoot. Oh, there was one day, 2020. I think it was 2019 or 2020.
Yeah.
Um, opening day of deer hunting in Minnesota. So we hunt kind of around Moose Lake. I don't know if you know where that's at. It's kind of close to halfway between Duluth and Minneapolis.
Okay.
And beautiful day. I mean, like I grew up hunting way north of Duluth, where it's like opening day could be 0 degrees, it could be below zero, snowing, freezing wind.
Yep.
Um, beautiful day. It was like 60 degrees, sunny.
Yeah.
I remember I have a picture I still saved on my phone. That morning, as soon as the sun came out, like I took off my coveralls and then my jacket underneath and my sweatshirt, and then I was just like shirtless in my stand, like sunbathing basically, which we don't really get to do a whole lot of that up where I'm from. So it was kind of nice. But then the deer aren't really moving when it's that hot out sometimes. So we were kind of like, oh well,
Right.
shoot, it'll be a nice sit, but we probably won't get anything. Um, and all of a sudden, just boom! Like it had to be like we hunt relatively close together, and it sounded like whoever shot was probably pointing right toward me because it sounded like a cannon. And and then all of a sudden, like 20 minutes later, another one, and then uh buck walks out right in front of me. Boom! And we all so I'm like getting ready to drag it out, and my two cousins come out that had just shot. So we get that one loaded up on the side by side, get back to camp, and there's two bucks laying there by the meat pole, and they got a fire going already. A couple beers cracked. It's like 10 a.m. at this point, I think. So
Right.
opening day, um, and we're all getting situated, and then there's another shot. Boom! Like the closest stand to our shack, and we all go out there and pull that one out. And by this point, like everyone else in the woods is like, "What is going on around here?" Like we've had good opening days, um, but I think that year that was all we shot was like those 4 bucks on opening day. But the cool part of that for me was just being able to kind of share that moment. It was me and three of my cousins,
Oh
and
wow.
our uncles being the seasoned hunters, they usually outdo us and get the first buck or get the nicest buck or whatever it is. So we kind of had a little day where we get to brag a little bit and be like, we had a good opening day. But I don't know. That was the first thing I thought of when you asked that. It was just a fun kind of memory with my cousins.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And that's where like for me, I mostly bow hunt. Okay. And so a lot of what I do is very independent. There's
Right.
not
Yeah.
like
It's a whole different thing.
yeah, I kind of don't do a deer camp per se. It's not until recently I haven't involved my kids, but in the past 2 years I've started involving my kids more into my hunting. My daughter's killed a turkey. My son shot his first deer this past season, and so
Nice.
I'm starting to get into that tradition type of part of my hunting career. But I'm to the point now where like I want that. I want that camp, or I want that connection with other people or family or things like that, where I don't, I like big bucks. Don't get me wrong. It's cool to kill a big deer, but at the same time, I also want to spend as much possible time with my kids or my family out in the great outdoors, whether that's fishing or hunting, as I possibly can. And that's
Yeah.
where like the memory aspect of all this is starting to become more important to me.
Well, it's gotta be such a cool moment as a dad
Yeah.
when
Oh
your
yeah.
kid shoots their first turkey or their first deer or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have something that, like we were saying earlier, it's like I feel like you need, whether it's family or friends or both or just something where some kind of tradition that's just a non-negotiable thing. It's like, "Hey, we're going, get dressed. You're waking up at 5 a.m., you know,
Yep.
getting up to the
Yep.
stand."
Yep.
But that's cool, man. Yeah. So
Yep.
you hunt in Iowa then?
Iowa. I chase mule deer and elk out west
Sweet.
almost every year. I just had a total knee replacement,
Oh,
so this year I'm just hunting Iowa, and then hopefully by next year I'll be back, somewhat fully recovered, and get back out and chase the western species again. But yeah, dude, so much fun.
that's cool.
Um, okay, so outside of you have this new album coming out. Talk to me a little bit about what it takes to put an entire album, to not just a couple songs and writing the individual songs, but putting an entire album together.
Yeah. Well, this one is kind of it's a standalone thing in the sense that I didn't go into it like I wasn't recording the first songs with the intention of putting an album together.
Yeah.
But what I realized was like the songs I was writing and recording when I started out were very, neutral, very safe, very like
Hmm.
just sounded like everything else. And 2024, I think, rolled around and I put out a song called Big City Lights. People loved it. Some people loved it, some people hated it. But I was like, this is the most me sounding thing I've done yet.
Hmm.
So I started kind of experimenting with like putting out more songs like that. And then I got to, the end of last year and I was like, well, shoot, I got four of these songs out and I got probably another four or five on deck that sound like this thing. I've also got hundreds of other songs I've written and I could put all these together and just make an album out of, really good songs. Or I could take this kind of thing I've been trying out and compile it into one sound. And so it's not a traditional album in the sense of like, here's your 12 songs, here's your slow song, here's your upbeat song, here's your mid tempo song, here's the single we pitched to radio, here's this other thing. It's kind of just like a cohesive compilation of like this kind of Northwoods Southern rock and roll sound.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so it's hard to. I didn't even want to put it out as an album. I wanted to just do it as like an EP because I was like a little nervous of that debut album moment because like you want to have, a lot of record labels want to have your debut album moment, and
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna put this out independently, so I'm just gonna do a EP. My buddy John, I've been working with, he's kind of getting rolling like the artist development label services arm of the agency I'm signed with. He was like, dude, just making an album. I was like, all right. So he's been helping me with the rollout and the album release.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, shoot, this is real now. So then it kind of clicked. I was like, okay, debut album. What are the songs you would put on your debut album? So it's kind of like a statement thing. Like
Yeah.
all of my favorite artists, when I look back, I'm like, okay, here's their debut album. Like I'm a big fan of like, like Korn. Like if you're into like rock and like metal and stuff, Korn's debut album is like it's such a thing, and like there's nothing else like, or there was nothing like it at the time. Or like
Right.
Chris Stapleton's debut album,
Right.
completely unique. So I just wanted that kind of thing that some people are going to love, some people are going to hate, but will stand the test of time. That's kind of the
Yeah.
goal with this
Hmm.
for sure. And just calling it
Yeah.
out of the woods too, just like I feel like in a lot of ways makes sense because it's like, I grew up in the woods. It's like kind of coming out of the woods, like here I am, this is what I sound like, you know. And then
Yeah.
obviously being the title track, Out of the Woods, which comes out Friday, which is kind of a fun little tongue in cheek song. But man, I'm excited. It's just also a part of the album too, I think, which I haven't really talked about or we haven't really like touched on leading up to it is like it's not like super serious. Like it doesn't sound when you listen to it, it doesn't sound like it's an album that's like taking itself super seriously. It's just like
Yeah.
it's just rock and roll, you know. I feel like
Yeah.
that's something we've lost over time.
Oh hell
You
yeah.
know, like
Oh hell yeah.
AC/DC, AC/DC wasn't trying to like invent new chords and get like mystical and psychedelic. It's just like,
Yeah.
here's what we sound like, So that was
Yeah.
kind of the goal with this.
Awesome, man. Are you excited for Friday?
Dude, I'm so pumped. We got a tour kickoff party and slash album release,
Yeah.
south of Superior, Wisconsin. So we got radio ads running all over the Northland for that
Yeah.
show. We got, expecting a few hundred people. I got a few
Yeah.
bands warming up. It's gonna be a huge, huge party. Outdoors, weather's looking perfect, like 80 degrees and sunny. So fingers
Yeah.
crossed. You never know, especially up here in the summertime, you could get some pretty whack weather, but yeah, we're hoping it'll
Yeah.
be fun.
Yeah, for sure. So my one of my favorite things to do is read my reviews, but not the good ones, like the negative ones, where it's like Dan Johnson is a douchebag type
Yeah.
of So how do you react? Like, or what would your reaction be if someone was like, Rafe Carlson's new album sounds like ass, man? Like,
Dude,
how
that's
do you
awesome. Because there's no other dude. If you For real, I've got so in the past like three 3 weeks or something, I've had a few videos hit on Instagram and Facebook. So we got like 10 or 15 million views in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And when you have that many eyes on something, you're gonna get dozens, if not hundreds, of
Yeah.
negative hate. Even if there's nothing to fight about, people will just
Right.
make up something. It's the internet.
Yeah. Right.
Um, but when you post something on Facebook and it's all your family and the moms and stuff, it's like, oh, you're doing so well. That's how you know that you're not reaching anyone. It's just like
Exactly.
I obviously appreciate all those
Yeah.
comments, super appreciate it, but it's when those hate comments start rolling in, or the negative album reviews, or people talking bad about it. It's like, okay, finally something's working. People are seeing this thing. It's
Yeah.
engaging people in conversation, and that's the kind of stuff that people engage with online, anyways. Like if someone sees a review and it's like, you need to listen to Rafe Carlson's new album. It's so good.
Yeah.
Most you can scroll right past it, but
Right.
if you see some kind of headline that's like, man, this sucks. You're like, ooh, oh wow, drama.
Yeah.
So
Let me take a look at this. Yeah.
I would be honored to have some negative reviews of this record. I hope they'll start rolling in.
Well, that's awesome, man. And so what does this mean? What does this mean for your like career where I don't know, like you're putting out your very first ever album? Like
Yeah,
you said you're excited about it, but what are you hoping happens with this release?
that's a good question, man. I feel like I I believe in the songs. I love the songs in this album. Um, in terms of like getting something to radio and getting something to chart and go number one and that whole thing, that is obviously always the goal. But with this,
Yeah.
it's not at the forefront. I think, like we talked about, is like creating something that people can go back to and be like, oh, but his debut was the best because he still was doing this thing. He still sounded like this. Just
Mhm.
it's not. I'm not trying to be all artsy and everything, but I'm just trying to establish a sound, like a baseline.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's the goal. Like, I don't have a billion followers right now. I've only been doing this for 5 years, but
Mhm.
if I can make something that people can, become a fan a year or two or 5 or 10 from now, and then go back to and be like, oh, this was the best, or this was at least like a thing at the time, like a time and place type thing. Like
Yeah.
especially a comment we get a lot because we do the live, we're touring all the time, and we're kind of like a live band as opposed to like a TikTok band or whatever.
Yeah.
We're out on the road all the time. And a comment we get all the time is like, man, this is just like, it's refreshing to hear this kind of like the twin guitars, like just the unapologetic like rock and roll thing. Like
Mhm.
I don't think that brand of rock and roll exists in mainstream rock right now,
Yeah.
but it doesn't exist in country either. But
Yeah.
it's kind of more of like what was coming out of like Jacksonville, Florida in the 70s, like
Oh yeah, for
the
sure.
Skinner and again, we're not even close to those guys, but just trying to emulate that a little bit and not bring back a sound that no one's making anymore, but kind of just like allow people to listen to something while they're out on the boat, or ripping some side by sides out in summertime in the
Yeah.
North Woods or wherever you're at, and just be like, yeah, this is I don't have to like dig. super deep into this album or these songs. It's just fun. It's just rock and roll. It's just I feel like that's refreshing for some people. So that's a goal too, is just make something that people can listen to from start to finish and be like,
Yeah.
okay, that's a thing, and it's just fun to listen to.
All right. You've been touring for however long now. Um, Share with us a memory, crazy, calm, however you want to do it, um, of like your favorite show you've ever done or the best show you've ever done.
Oh man. Well, the best show we've ever played as a band was at a county fair for about 5 people on a
Okay.
huge stage with like huge production. And I don't know what was in the air that night. We just kicked ass. We did so good. And we were like, well, it's like you 5 people got the best that we could possibly give tonight. Um, and it's just funny how that works. I don't know if it's because
Yeah.
we, weren't in our heads or whatever it
Yeah.
was, but yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy, crazy stories. Like
Yeah.
this one time, I won't say who we were opening for, but it was one of our first, like, might have been our first big. It was our first big show as a band. Probably 5, 6,000 people opening for a major act. And they were upset that we brought a cooler full of beer backstage. We were like brand new. We don't know what we're doing. And
Yeah.
they had a rider that said, no beer backstage, which obviously we got tour riders now, so I can respect that. Um,
Yeah.
but at the time, the venue staff didn't say anything about it. So we're just like, well, okay. So they're like, okay, you need to move this out of the backstage area. So then we brought it up out of the backstage area into the crowd, and then the cops came over and they're like, "You can't have this in the crowd. You need to bring this backstage." So we're like stuck with this cooler full of beer, and it was just after we got off stage. So there's like people out in the crowd like seeing it happen, taking pictures of us. People like coming, lining up to like come see what's going on and talk to us, and we're like getting chewed out by the cops over here, and then by the venue over here. So we ended up getting kicked out of our own show. My guitar player said some things he probably shouldn't have, and that was and then so we went and drank a bunch of beer. Someone ended up sleeping on the side of the highway. It was a interesting night.
It
I don't
was a
know how
rock
much
and
more
roll
detail I
night.
can go into.
Yeah. It was a rock and roll type kind of night,
It
is
was a
what it
rocker, and
was.
you gotta learn the hard way sometimes. I mean,
Yeah.
now we know how to, and again, we probably didn't conduct ourselves how we should have, but now we know how to handle ourselves backstage. That was our first, I think that was our first show opening for like a
So
big
you
act.
didn't even play?
No, we play. It was right after we got off stage, and I'm like walking
Oh,
off the
okay.
stage. Usually, I'm like, okay, I got to go do a meet and greet or something. There's people
Yeah.
go sell some merch, take some pictures, and I don't even make it to the bottom of the stairs in the back of the stage, and I'm getting yelled at. I'm like, what's going on? I don't even know. I wasn't like drinking beers or whatever, so it's all about people get bent out of shape about beer sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah.
We just like to enjoy it from time to time.
Have a little bit of beers. Have a couple beers. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Well, cool, man. Well, what's the name of this album?
Out of the Woods comes out on
Out of the
Friday.
Woods.
Yeah.
And so, if someone's listening to this and they want to go find it, where is it going to be released at?
Everywhere. So on probably streaming platforms I don't even know about it, but for sure, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, YouTube, all that stuff.
Mhm.
And we're
Yep.
doing, right now, depending on when you're listening, whoever, I mean, it comes out in 3, 4 days, but whoever's
Yeah.
listening, we're giving away tickets to see us with Bailey Zimmerman, Tucker Wetmore at Lakes Jam. 3-day tickets to that. We're giving away 3-day tickets to, or 2-day tickets to Windstock, which is down in Winstead, Minnesota, probably not too far from where you're at, a few hours.
Maybe.
Um, that's us with Dirk Bentley and Luke Bryan. We're doing a whole bunch of merch giveaways and stuff for people that pre-save the album. So, like I said, depending on when you're listening, you can go on my website or Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and you can hit the pre-save link and pre-save it to whatever streaming thing you use. But
Yeah. Well, cool, man.
yeah,
I noticed that a lot of your venues are near lakes, especially if you're in Minnesota or Wisconsin.
yeah.
So I hope you get the opportunity to get out and rip some lips this summer
Oh,
when you're
dude.
not performing. So
Yeah, I hope so. I haven't really like spent enough time fishing or doing anything on the lake for a couple summers now, just because with how busy we've been. But we
yeah,
intentionally were like, okay. we'll play this festival, we'll play this show or whatever, because these people at the venue have a boat and we're going to go out fishing before the show and then come sound check and
Yeah.
play and stuff like that. You know, we're playing on Lake Minnetonka, opening for Raspel or Gary LaVox from Raspel Flats and George
Yeah.
Burge. And the people that run that are like taking us out on the boat like after we sound check before we play. So we
Hell
walk
yeah,
off
man.
the boat, jump right on stage. type of thing.
Hell yeah, dude. That'd
Yeah,
be sweet. Rip some walleyes and then head back in and
yeah.
eat them afterwards. So,
Hell yeah, dude. That's what we
well,
do.
cool, man. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate your time. I hope the album release goes well, and I hope you also find time to get outside and enjoy Mother Nature and disconnect, like that. Find some more of that inspiration. So, man, I really appreciate you taking time today to do this.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me. Real appreciate it.